What's going on, my fellow brother bears? Buddha Bear here, and welcome back to the Anime Den. Alright, and in today's video, now since Infinite Dendrogram hasn't been caught up for the dub yet, and I've already done an episode on the upcoming animes, I thought, why not just do a video on my top 5 mangas for everyone to read. Now, usually these mangas, I made sure to pick the ones that have more than 30 chapters. So for everyone who wants to go check them out, it doesn't just, just start reading, it gets to the good part and then it ends right away. Because there's a lot of good anime mangas that I read that are like 14, 15 chapters. Some of them hit the 20. But today I want to make sure I show you guys the top 5 over the 30 chart mangas that I personally think that everyone should go read because they are amazing. Now let's get on to the video. Alrighty guys, we're going to hit it off with number 5 right away. So this one's called Tsuki ga Michubiku Isekai Dochu. I think I hit it right. So this is a action adventure comedy fantasy harem romance shonen. Y'all know your Buddha Bear. He has to get his harems, and I'm a Buddhist. I'm probably the most corrupted Buddhist you'll ever meet. But this anime, it came out, well, last updated. It came out probably, I saw it about a year ago. It was actually really good. So let me give you guys the run-up. So high school student Misume Makoto is called into a fantasy world by the god Tsukiyomi in order to be a hero. However, powerful others in this world aren't as thrilled to have him there, and they kick him to the edge of the world just as Tsukiyomi declares that he must leave Makoto to find his own way. Now it's up to him. Now it's up to Makoto to find his own way. So there's a little summary of what is kind of going on. I'm going to give it my own version of it. So Makoto, when he gets summoned into the world, the next world by the gods, he's first introduced not to Tsukiyomi, but I think it's Amaterasu. And for some reason, Amaterasu has a weird complex of only gifting good-looking people her gifts. So Makoto, I guess in her eyes, wasn't good looking, and I don't know. The man looked kind of normal to me. I don't want to say who's good looking, but he's above average. I think what she did to him was pretty wrong. So basically, she kicks him out, says him that, I brought you into this. You were summoned here to help stop the evils of the world, but you're ugly, so I'm kicking you down. No bits was, and I can't. And I'm not gonna send you back to the other world. So you're kind of screwed. So she throws him out of heaven. Tsukiyomi goes and picks him up. Tsukiyomi gives him a bunch of gifts and a bunch of abilities. Makoto is kind of left out to go and fight for himself. However, as he goes on, you'll eventually find out that Makoto got more than what he was kind of going off to see, because eventually people don't see him as human. And then the craziest thing is that humans can't understand him, but monsters and every other race can, because to Amaterasu, every race that isn't human is ugly. And Tsukiyomi is just Tsukiyomi. She's the real goddess. But as you guys go on and read, you'll find out more about Makoto. You'll see more of the companions he makes. You kind of can see them here in the cover art. I don't want to kind of explain too much on who they are, because I would like for you guys to kind of go and see for yourself. They are just know that they're two companions that look down at Makoto at first, because they didn't know much about him, but Makoto turned it a full 360 and made them now his followers. And a big part of this is the fact that Makoto, no humans can understand Makoto, and what he looks like to them is also a big factor of what goes on and what happens. Craziest thing is that another classmate of Makoto gets brought into this world, and She is gonna play also a big part in it. So definitely, that's my top number 5 for the mangas you guys should go read because it's just absolutely amazing. I believe there's about 34 chapters. No, 49 chapters. My bad. So it's definitely, when you guys start, it's going to give you guys a bit of that read. So, you're going to have a couple, you're either going to binge it in one day, or, it's going to give you, it keeps you up for about another week, depending on how much you read. All right, so number 4 on the list, I kind of had an issue on where I wanted to place it because I actually read this one before, and I'm starting to second guess on putting it as number 4. I think I'm actually going to move it to number 3, and I'm actually going to do this one as number 4. So number 4 is called Mato Seihei no Slave. Yes, the name should say it all. So our main character is the boy right there. You have to forgive me, I can't remember his name. But let me hit you with a synopsis of what on website here, kind of help you, kind of regain my knowledge of everything, and also hit you up with get you more filled up. So the demon-filled dimension known as Mato has opened, and a type of peach tree that grows there yields fruit that confers special powers to those who eat it, giving humanity a fighting chance. But this only works for women. As such, as protectors of humanity, women raise in social status while men are relegated to second-class citizens, scrapping for basic occupations and acknowledgement. Ku Yuki Wakuro, a domestic crafty high schooler senior whose sister was taken during the Mato event 5 years before, while lamenting the hardships of the life ahead of him, an event opens before him, and while being rescued from demons by Captain Kyoko of the Anti-Demon Corps, she confers him powers as her slave and turns him into a mighty beast mount that mows down monsters. However, there is a surprising price to pay for being her slave, and it's not him who has to pay it. So there we kind of go. These are the characters that you guys are gonna eventually meet. You meet them in the first two chapters, so it's not really spoiling it. Main character is Yuki, regular high school kid in this world, second class. His sister has been taken to Mato, and he's kind of just living it on his own. And that event that they were talking about was basically how the Mato Gate happens. Is that, like, around the world, just a portal opens up, and it kind of just sucks people into Mato, and it's up to the Anti-Demon Corp to kind of just stop those, to save people who get sucked in, and to kind of close out the gates before any of the demons get to go out. So Yuki gets sucked in, and he's getting chased, and then as he's getting chased, Kyoka's attacking, trying to save him, and he eventually goes and tries to save her. And during trying to be a hero, Yuki gets hurt, and Kyoka gives him an ability, which was the slave, and turns him into a really cool mount. Because that's how she is, because she usually kind of rides him like a mount, so you can call him a mount. But he's honestly like a really cool demon dog warrior. You'll kind of see more as you get in. And obviously the price he has to pay is where the attention grabber for me comes in. I'm kind of upset that they don't have a tag for this, if to kind of give you guys the kind of categories that it is. Usually, if I could say it on my own, it is definitely a action, fantasy, romance with some ecchi, and it is a harem as well, as you will see at the cover art. Yuki is the only male as of the moment with any powers other than the women. So he is kind of in there. He kind of, after getting the power, Kyoka takes Yuki back to their base, and he kind of like fulfills his title as the slave. He does all the cleaning, the cooking, which all the girls kind of, are grateful, because I guess there wasn't a really good cook and a cleaner, and he's happy about it. You'll kind of see why as the reward that Kyoka has to pay for her using him and his abilities. But it's really cool anime. It kind of will delve in deeper onto Yuki's story and what happens to his sister, as well as bringing on other characters. There is going to be most likely a two-sided story. You'll see two different sides of the story, and where it left off, it kind of leaves you on, okay, now who's the real hero type of thing. So you'll eventually see that. I don't want to spoil too much about it other than that, but it's definitely a go and read if there is, just you're running out of mangas, or you're running out of things to read, or you just want to get into a manga and you're kind of feeling a bit sinister, sinners. You know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you guys out there. You know exactly who I'm talking to. I'm one of them, but I'm following the right path. Yet I'm still reading this. But it's other than that, it's also a really good anime. Definitely give it a try. Gonna go on to my number 3. Now, I read this one a while back before almost any of the other ones, other than Tsuki ga Michibiku. That was actually the first one I read out of the top 5. But this is another one I read. It's called Remonster. Now, first off, let me hit you guys with the description, and then I'll give you guys my point of view of it. So, Tomoki Kanta has been reincarnated into the weakest race, a goblin, and given a new name, Ro. After having undergone an unfortunate death, however, Goblin Ro has retained his previous life's memory and an unusual evolution, as well as being blessed with an ability to gain status boost from eating. In this alternative world of the survival of the fittest, will the Goblin Party end up becoming the heroes of this world? So as you kind of see, Ro, he was known as Kanta, but he's now known as Ro. His name will change as the story goes on. He kind of got brought into this world from where he was. I don't think it is now. No, I don't think it's spoiling, because you do kind of find out on the first chapter, so I don't want to say it's really spoiling. Ro kind of comes from our world, but further into the future and kind of more fantasy technology-ish, because he has an ability kind of called gluttony, I think it was called, in his world, where the more he eats, the more obviously his status boosts, and the different monsters he eats, he gets different abilities. Now, obviously, he was also like a high-class military warrior, so his fighting styles was like on the top charts, but unfortunately he died. He gets brought into this world, and now he's a basic goblin. And as the story goes on, you'll follow Ro and his other friends. As you can see in the cover art, that there's more than one other, just not just him. There's other people that will be there. You'll see him kind of grow up to be more of what he is now, obviously as a goblin, because he will evolve and other stuff. But then again, this world is, I have to kind of get into where the genres is: action, adventure, comedy, fantasy, harem, mature, romance, seinen. Mature part, I definitely have to bring it up. There is a lot, like, you definitely, it's not recommended for kids. This is a manga where it delves really into how past and medieval times were. There are slaves, we're following the lives of monsters, so they do what people call them out to be, and as being monsters. So there is a bit of mature content happening, but it is still eventually it's still a comedy. It has its light moments and it has its dark moments, but it eventually always comes back to the light. But I just need you all to be aware that there is like really kind of heavy topics and heavy moments, which is why it hits in the mature genre. But other than that, action adventure, kind of typical. I genuinely fall to action adventure as a key thing for a key category in the mangas I read. Comedy is a bonus. Harem and fantasy, I kind of always bundle up. Well, action adventure, fantasy, and harem, I always kind of try to find those. Romance is also a bonus. I do have a little thing with romance mangas. They are genuinely my favorite. Other than, if I had to rate it, it would have to be harem, adventure, romance, comedy, and then mature / dark, and then slice of life and seinen. But this manga is definitely one to go read. You do follow Ro as a child, and then you will get to see him grow up as an adult. And this manga definitely does something that I appreciate that most mangas don't when it comes to characters reaching an adult stage. Obviously, I don't want to ruin it for you guys because it's more of a surprise. I was extremely happy when the chapter came out and I got to see it, and I kind of want to save that kind of excitement for you guys as well when you guys go read it. But Remonster definitely in my top three to go and read out. You guys should definitely go and check it out. When it comes to like where to read it, if you guys, I usually use a app called Manga Browser. There's multiple other apps out there. You'll probably be able to find on the website right here. Called this one's www.Gion League. It has all the chapters here. You can definitely go and give it a read from here, or if you have another manga reading website you use, then you can definitely go and try to see if you can find it there. Okay, so now moving on to number two. This one came out of nowhere, but it brought up surprise to me, and it's amazing. It's called Solo Leveling. So most people probably have heard Solo Leveling. It is a Korean manga, so I guess you can kind of put it up with the Webtoons because I feel like Webtoons are kind of like Korean mangas. Usually they are based on Korea, or their setting is in Korea, so I kind of call them Korean mangas. So let's head on with the description. 10 years ago, after the gate that connected the real world with the monster world opened, some of the ordinary, everyday people received the power to hunt monsters within the gate. They are known as hunters. However, not all hunters are powerful. My name is Sung Jin Woo, which is our main protagonist. An E-rank hunter, I'm someone who has to risk his life on the lowest of dungeons, the world's weakest, having no skill whatsoever to display. I barely earned the required money by fighting in low-level dungeons, at least until I found a hidden dungeon with the hardest difficulty within the D-rank dungeons. In the end, as I was accepting death, I suddenly received a strange power, a quest log that only I could see, a secret to leveling up that only I knew about. If I trained in accordance with my quest and hunted monsters, my level would rise, changing from the weakest hunter to the strongest S-rank hunter. So, Solo Leveling is definitely one of those webtoon slash mangas where and this is one of my also favorite topics, where we see the weakest of the weak become the strongest of the strong. You know, he is Sung Jin Woo, or I could just call him Sung. Sung kind of is, you'll see more of how his aspect goes from being really genuine to really nice, and still is kind of nice. Kind of being abused, you'll see is that, and when this event happens and he dies, which everyone will eventually see when you read it on, he kind of goes on to then becoming the strongest. And you know, a lot of people still look down on him, but Sung will, like, he's a smart kid as he is. He's really smart. You'll also see, he's really observant, and he knows how to kind of maneuver in situations. He really knows how to talk to, and as he's taking on his quest, as he is farming, trying to build his guild, you'll see that he also gains a special ability later on that makes him even stronger. And what's crazy is that you'll see him kind of basing off as, like, if you were to take it at a game base, like, you'll see him being more of a warrior. Like, he'll act more like a warrior, but his real job is hidden, because you know, a lot of people at a certain point in the manga, when you'll see it, they can't meet his requirement. They can't even have him pull out like more of his power. I feel like there's a better way for me to say that, but basically he doesn't see them as he doesn't see most of the warriors, even the S-class warriors, as worthy of using his abilities. Most of the time when he uses his abilities is when he's in a dungeon fighting monsters where he needs to, and when he beats them, he just becomes even more of a badass. And when you go and read it off, you'll see how amazing I kind of set Sung to be, because he is amazing. The fight scenes are amazing. I love the way how they drew the art on him, and kind of how they display the style of game like how gaming comes to life when it comes to an RPG aspect, coming to the real world. They did a really good job on that. So I definitely do recommend going to watch not watch, read Solo Leveling. It is a action adventure fantasy shonen. Obviously action adventure fantasy. When it comes to me, you'll most likely always see those kind of mangas with me. But now let's go on to number one. Now, I found this manga by accident. I was kind of bored. I just caught up with Mato because it was the second one I found. Um, Probably a month or two ago. I was reading and I finished Mato and I got bored. I didn't know what else to read and I found this manga. It's called The Beginning After the End. Now, this manga is, well, it's not a manga. As you can see, it says Webtoon. I found it on Manga Browser, so I assumed it to be a manga at first. Found out later that it was a Webtoon. First off, let's give you the summary before I get ahead of myself, because things are a bit crazy. So, King Gray has unrivaled strength, wealth, and prestige in a world governed by martial ability. However, the solitude lingers closely behind those with great power. Beneath the glamorous exterior of a powerful king lurks the shell of a man devoid of purpose and will. Reincarnated into a new world with magic and monsters, the king has a second chance to relive his life. Correcting the mistakes of his past will not be his only challenge. However, underneath the peace and prosperity of the new world is an undercurrent threat, threatening to destroy everything he has worked for, questioning his role and reason for being born again. So, 55 chapters, definitely have to. It's gonna give you more of a read. Genres: action, adventure, comedy, fantasy, manhu. I don't know what kind of a genre that is. I do also want to point out that this is a kind of mature read as well. There's not, obviously there's no itching, there's no harem, but I do have to be to the point where it's mature. This does follow the medieval aspect again, so there's a lot of things happening that a mature audience, I recommend more for a mature audience, because they kind of will understand more of why it is happening and what it is happening. But following King Gray, he isn't named that once he's revived. They change his name, and I'm terrible. My memory is almost as bad as my reading. I'm just gonna go off and call him King Gray because that's the only name I got from him right now. Gray right now gets reborn after, as it says, he was an amazing king, probably the strongest of the strong, dies being the loneliest. He is probably the strongest king, but he's also the loneliest person in the world. He dies feeling that regret. He gets reincarnated into a new world with a happy father, with his happy family, a really good and pristine father, and a loving mother. As a young boy, not even as a young boy, as a young child, even an infant, he was already aware of what was happening. He was kind of already training himself by gathering mana in the world, or I think it was either mana or ki in the world. And he was kind of just training himself. As you'll see later on, as he grows up, he becomes more and more of that strong type of warrior slash king aspect that he grows on to be. He is extremely mature for being a child, since he does have his past memories. Usually when his parents and friends talk to him, they feel like they're no longer talking to a child, that they're talking to a man, or a man of wisdom, and like someone who's lived their life, which Gray tends to fall upon, having that as an issue. But as you will read on, King Gray will have his problems. It is extremely sad and depressing, and when I say there's mature things, it's because there will be an event that happens to Gray that separates him from his parents, and the events following up to that I recommend for a mature audience, because it kind of delves into a bit of a really depressing state. Other than that, though, the art style is amazing. They really bring out the fantasy into it, fantasy and combat. It's not all just sad. It is still really usually joyous times, and it really does delve into how the art style for King Ray is on in this webtoon manga. They do a really good, and I say really good job on showing his tactical abilities when it comes to fights, how he gets with his magic and his sword play, how he gets later on with his partner. As you can, I don't know if you can see it from here. It does look like a little baby black dragon. That is his partner. You'll see more of him bringing out her abilities and kind of more of her true self. And it's extremely wholesome. It's extremely nice. It still does give you that bit of, it gives you that feeling when a chapter ends. That's like that excitement where like, oh yo, I have to read more. I have to read more. And you kind of, next thing I knew when I was reading this manga, I binged it. I finished the entire. I caught up in about one day. I just could not stop reading. It was so interesting. I ran it all night. Woke up the next morning having to go to work, so tired, but I felt so accomplished because I read it and I was caught up, and I was so happy on what was happening. Obviously, it's still ongoing. Right now, I can't explain. They're in an adventuring state. I don't want to tell you any more than that. They're adventuring right now, but King Gray is right now. What he's doing is absolutely amazing. Character development on how he is, how he reacts to other people, the action, the art, the way they show everything. It's just beautiful. The colors in this manga is phenomenal. It's definitely my number one to read. And it's definitely a manga I definitely would read again too. Um, and I would recommend to others first. This is I tend to not like to read or even watch. Whether watching animes or reading mangas, I tend to not want to go back and read them over again. I can't do it. It's something. It doesn't feel like it's because I already know what's gonna happen, so I don't get that excitement. But this is one of those few mangas that kind of surpass that, and I would always tend to go back to and read. So I definitely recommend it to go read. It's an amazing manga slash webtoon. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with it because it's still ongoing. I can't wait to see how King Gray is gonna grow up even further, and I can't wait for this to become an anime because I already know that it has potential to become an anime. As you can see, it's got a 4.7 out of 5 from 823 people. That's not a lot, but I kind of want people to go and explore when it comes to manga and to read this because this manga is by far an amazing. It is kind of like a diamond in the rough, and I don't see a lot of people kind of talking about it. But it's definitely a manga that people need to go out there and kind of read because it is amazing. I want like this. These people who created this, the authors and stuff, need to get supported. This is amazing, and I kind of want them to get release more chapters faster. So go check them out, read them out, read this manga, and read the other 4, because I give this one a lot of hype. But just like from my top, from number 5 to number 1, they're all amazing. Definitely would love to give them all a read again. However, that is up to you guys. I was talking with Black Bear, and we are definitely thinking about doing something a little new called manga slash webtoon readings for you guys, where we will be reading mangas as we are scrolling down. We will be reading out the lines for you guys, kind of storytelling them. We'll kind of be voicing the characters, trying to voice them. I feel like it's gonna be a fun time, but definitely if you guys would want us to read the beginning after the end for you guys and kind of get that going out, just hit the like button, just comment, just telling us, hey Buddha Bear, definitely want you to go read this up for us because this looks amazing. You kind of brought it out. But hey, it's all up to you guys. Definitely go on and check out all the other 4 mangas. They're all amazing. They're gonna keep you entertained and might even hit in your number 1 in your top 10 list, maybe in your top 5 list for mangas. But yeah, that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am your lovely host, the one and only Buddha Bear, and thank you for joining me here in the one and only Anime Den. Catch you guys later.